Broncos and the Raiders was one that I kind of felt silly after the fact for doubting Raiders so hard and for picking the Broncos the way I did, but I'm still going to stand pat because it's week 1 of the season, but we got plenty of takeaways here. Gotta love Sean Payton with the onside kick, messing with the Saints fans, knowing that that's what he did in the Super Bowl. He was asked afterward of the game of, hey, could you have an explanation for us on that onside kick? Why'd you do that? Payton was like, yeah, we saw something in film. We had some leverage, typical Sean Payton answer. He saw an advantage and he took it. And if it wouldn't have been for the guy touching the ball before 10 yards, it really would have been a pivotal play. Talking about opening his Broncos tenure with Will Lutz, who he just traded for from the New Orleans Saints with the 7th-round pick, implementing it with that. But unfortunately, that did lead to a Raiders opening drive score. And this is one thing I had said about Sean Payton. I have all the respect for him as an offensive mind, as one of the best head coaches that we've ever seen in this game. But sometimes he outthinks the room. In the NFC Championship, why are you throwing to Michael Thomas when the clock needs to continue to run? Run the football. Don't risk an incomplete pass. If they don't get that onside kick in the Super Bowl, Sean Payton is probably viewed as a fool. Now, of course, if people would have got the right lottery ticket, they'd be a millionaire, but they didn't. I get that. But Sean Payton, I feel like, has about a 50-50 roll of the dice with these questionable calls, and I don't believe this was one that paid off because the Raiders had the opening drive score. Now we saw Russell Wilson moving back around in the pocket, 27 of 34, which one of those was a spike in the ground. 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, which is good to see. He was sacked twice, but otherwise did a pretty good job, I thought, staying alive with his feet, moving around in the pocket. Clearly, that's when he was his best. He had a few downfield shots, but mostly was a dink and dunk type of attack. And of course, he looked as his best when he was on the move, being in that Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson type of esque vibe when he's able to run and gun. But the fact that he spread the ball around so well, 11 different players targeted, 10 different Broncos hauled in at least one catch. So again, of those 27 completions, you had 10 guys responsible for that. And with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton not being super explosive in this game, which I do think was their downfall. You score 16 points in your home opener. This reminded me some of the later Sean Payton days with Drew Brees, if I'm being real. The dink and dunk, occasional deep shots, if any. With Drew Brees, it was a lot of screens. It was a lot of slants. Maybe you'd get the occasional 50-yard bomb to Emmanuel Sanders, or hell, in Drew's last game, we literally had to bring in Jameis Winston to run the same trick play the Bears did so we could do it against the Bucs and get a touchdown. So we could have a big play because the Bucs defense was not going to allow us to go 16, 17, 18 plays. Y'all give me a second. The queen was calling. Inca. Y'all know me. Inca's the queen. Or excuse me, the princess. Yusuf, what's up, man? Good to see you. I ain't been dodging you, man. I just been super busy. I appreciate you staying in touch with me and texting me. Loyal fan, bro. Thank you for getting in on the show. But yeah, this reminded me some of those later Sean Payton days with Drew Brees, kind of the dink and dunk, the occasional deep shots, if any. But except the thing is, Russell Wilson has mobility now. We heard Sean Payton on the herd that if he was with Russell Wilson, he'd be dialing up all the plays. He would be singing his best tunes to get Russ in the right position. And we saw some of that. But I believe what Sean Payton is doing right now is realistically seeing if Russ can operate in his base system before opening it up. And I also hope that Sean Payton isn't kind of having amnesia in a way / being so used to playing with a flail arm quarterback in a 38, 39, 40, 41-year-old Drew Brees. I got the jersey on the wall, so don't think I'm talking shit about him. I'm just being honest. You wanted to see more out of this. And I hope week 2, when week 8, week 12 gets around, maybe we're talking about the Broncos as one of the top offenses in the league. And again, he looked good in the first half with 2 touchdown passes. Russell Wilson's out there delivering, but only a field goal and 3 total possessions in the second half here for the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton's team had 10 penalties, 10 penalties for 83 yards. They missed 2 critical kicks. They missed an onside kick that led to a touchdown. They scored 16 points. Damari Mathis at cornerback 2. Riley Moss's absence was felt on the field as Damari Mathis gave up 2 touchdowns. So his job could possibly be in jeopardy. And Josh Jacobs also, he's been a problem with the Broncos in recent years. 879 yards from scrimmage and scoring 9 touchdowns in the last 7 games against Denver going into the game Sunday. Denver did do a good job. They limited him to 48 yards on 19 carries, the league leading rusher from last year, 2.5 yards per carry. Now over into the Raiders, who actually had a pretty impressive game on the road. Jimmy G with some good mistake-free football, a go-ahead touchdown, which turned into the game-winning drive, of course. What a dot to Jacoby Myers. marching 75 yards in 6 plays over only 2 minutes and 20 seconds, connecting with Jacoby Myers on that actual drive. And really, shame on me for not thinking that Jimmy G could operate with weapons because he had George Kittle and Debo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. I just really thought without having that good head coaching, without having that defense, which did good enough, I think it was more of the Broncos offense being anemic still than it was the Raiders defense stepping up because it hasn't been a good defense in the last decade. And that's why I feel differently about Derek Carr with the Saints than most people do. Of course, I'm a fan, but still, Jimmy G was throwing to Devontae Adams. He was out there delivering it to Derek Carr. He was, trying to work with Josh Jacobs. He's still got his weapons, believe it or not. You know, Jacoby Myers. Wait until they get Michael Mayer involved. This could be an interesting offense. And of course, Jimmy's going to game manage his way to success, but still. Now, the Raiders last year, they were 30th in penalties per game with 6.6 and 30th in penalty yards per game with 54.8. They had 10 penalties for 97 yards this game. They extended drives and really compromised their own. And this is why I think this is a little embarrassing for the Broncos, because if it wasn't for penalties, the Raiders would have won that football game on Sunday. Listen here, 2 PIs led to 2 touchdown drives. Illegal contact on a third down by Marcus Peters wiped away a fumble by Russell Wilson, but the Broncos ended up missing that field goal, thankfully. Thank you, Will Lutz, I guess. Um, After Garoppolo's interception on the goal line, the Raiders stopped the Broncos right after, but Luke Masterson, the linebacker, roughed the Broncos punter Riley Dixon, cost them 15 yards, another first down, and eventually 3 more points. Is Sean Payton's only coming out here? Yes, mistake-free football. We need Jerry Jeudy to come back, but it was a lot of dink and dunk. Russell Wilson wasn't, he was cooking compared to last year, but he wasn't in his non-MVP voting self. Shout out to NFL Mike. That was kind of funny how you threw that out there. But this could have been a lot ugly for the Broncos. Now, it's still a loss. It's still a divisional loss. It's still a loss at home to open the Sean Payton era, but when you dig deeper, it feels worse. And I don't want to see the Broncos be a team like that. I believe the Broncos can be a very good team this year. I believe they can go to the AFC title game. I really do. With that defense, with Russell Wilson, special quarterback, Sean Payton, Super Bowl winning coach. I mean, y'all have heard me time and time and time again this season. I believe that it'll happen. Possibly. It's very possible that it could happen.